Hey everybody, it's Dave here from Dragonhill Games. So many of you guys probably already know that I own a game store. I'm sure you can probably figure out that I'm constantly buying and selling cards. It's very important for me for my customers to have a great selection of cards to choose from when they come to my store. But how do I decide what cards to buy? Well, the answer is simple. I watch the market very closely. So here's a look at some of the cards I'm currently buying, as many as I can get my hands on, and why you should consider picking them up as an investment. And hey, if you're already a subscriber, I want to thank you for being here. And if you're not, please consider doing so now. We post at least 2 videos every week. Okay, let's have a look at the cards I'm buying this week.
We always recommend shopping at your local game store. However, if there's something you can't find locally, we have provided a link for every card you see in this video in the description. Using that link will help support this channel. Alright, let's kick things off with Mutavault. A few of the things I consider when looking at a card from an investment standpoint are: Number 1. Does the card see play across multiple formats? Number 2. What is the current price relative to its all-time high? And number 3. What is the gap on the card? We will get into what gap is in just a moment, but suffice it to say that Mutavault checks all the boxes. It's played across all formats, its current price is less than 25% of its all-time high, and there is a notable gap. So what is gap and why is it important? Well, gap is a metric that I use, and it is defined as the difference between the cheapest version of a card and the original printing of that card. Note here that the M14 version is valued at less than 70% of the original printing. Now you may be saying to yourself, yeah, but Dave, it makes sense that there's a difference in price between the OG and a reprint. It's called collectability. The reality is that cards that are seeing a lot of play, that are not on the reserve list, have very little differences in price between printings. Let me show you some examples. Wormcoil Engine is a perfect example of what I mean. This card has had multiple printings and there is virtually no difference between the original and the most recent printing. Some other examples are Liliana the Veil, Snapcaster Mage, even Remand and Ancient Stirrings. All of these cards are seeing a lot of play and there is virtually no difference between the printings. The important thing to take away from all of this is that if a card becomes desirable, let's say it winds up in a deck that takes down a major tournament, then the gap between all of the printings will close very quickly. Let's have a look at Engineered Explosives next. Here is another staple that sees plays in every format. It has similar uses to Ratchet Bomb and Powder Keg and is equally effective at blowing up tokens. What makes EE stand out is that it is easier and faster to set it to the desired level, and that speed makes it a valuable addition to many decks. At around 20% of its previous highs, this card is definitely worth picking up. The gap is also quite substantial in that the Ultimate Masters version is valued at less than 60% of the price of the original 5th Dawn printing. To further illustrate the significance about the gap in pricings, let's have a look at this card when it was at its peak in late July of 2018. There was virtually no difference in pricing between the original print and the reprint. Players didn't care which set they were from, they just wanted them for their decks. So picking up a reprint when there is a significant gap between it and the original will pay off in dividends when the card becomes highly desirable. The third card on our list today is Entomb. This card finds its way into all kinds of decks in both Legacy and Commander. It's reaching a low point on its chart, being valued at less than 1/3 of its highs from back in May of 2016. With the Eternal Masters printing being valued at less than 60% of the original Odyssey printing, now is the perfect time to give this card some strong consideration. Continuing with the graveyard theme, let's have a look at Goryo's Vengeance. This card has been an unfortunate casualty of the Hogak decks. Hogak has forced players to go as far as main decking Graveyard Hate, so playing a Reanimator deck in Modern is just not viable right now. Let's be realistic, Hogak is going to be banned, and when it is, the decks are going to change a lot. People that are forced to have playsets of Leyline of the Void in their sideboard probably won't even run them after the ban. Once the ban comes, it will be a perfect time for Reanimator decks to make a comeback, and Goryo's Vengeance will lead the charge. The gap is also wide, which makes this a perfect opportunity for me to invest in this card. And finally, we have Leyline of Sanctity. This card is heavily played as sideboard tech in multiple formats as protection from burn and discard decks, just to name a few. Being able to pick up copies of this card at under $5 is an absolute steal. This card was priced north of $40 for both the OG M11 printing and the Modern Masters reprint. If I could find 1,000 copies of it, I would buy them all and tuck them away in a box for the next couple of years.
I really hope you enjoyed having a look at cards that I'm investing in right now. Of course, and as with all things in life, there are no guarantees. This video is provided to you as information. If you enjoyed watching this video and you want to see more like this, please let me know in the comment section below. Okay, bye for now.